Okay. Hi, everybody. This is attempt, I think, 5 or 6 now. Let's hope this one actually works. We'll see how it goes. But we're going to try this again. So we're just going to start from the top because I've been told the last one is funny, so we might just leave that one up. But yeah, we're going to do this all over again. So hi, I'm Ian Patterson. I'm one of the owners of Fantasy Live and a director of VAO. And on one of the corners here is Doug. He is the other owner and director of VAO. And we also have joining us from the plot team for Fantasy Live, Aaron. So thank you all for being here. Hopefully this time it works okay. We're going to find out as we go. Good luck to us all. But yeah, so starting up here, we are going to manage to watch the YouTube chat window for any questions you have and to tell me if I'm muted or that we've broken down or other technical difficulties we are almost certainly going to have some more of today. Otherwise, if it works out okay, we're going to get going here and try again. So I think, Doug, we're going to let you do your spiel all over again. Good luck with that.
It's all good. So hello, everyone. We're doing this video because we're having an event coming up. And we haven't had an event since the fall, and that was only one event in the last 2 years. So there's been a lot of questions. And instead of wasting a lot of time at the beginning of the event, because we have other things to talk about then, we're going to try to hit some of the questions we've been getting now. One of the biggest questions I have received myself is why are we still in Hagersville at the place we used for the Masquerade Ball, the meet and greet? There's a few reasons for that. Since the pandemic, we have been in talks with the Scout Camp. Every plan of ours is to go back there. As of right now, they only have it opened up for outside camping in 3 of the campsites, the fire pits. And they didn't until last week have it open up to third parties. Fantasy Live is a third party. They have officially opened it up to us now, so we can rent those campsites. The problem is there's no buildings with that, and it just wouldn't be good enough for a day mod. Also, booking the weekend, I didn't want to try to move the weekend because someone already had it booked. So that brings us to the Hagersville site. We have the whole site, we have a building, we have heat. I'm bringing back more heat and stuff like that. And this is going to be where we're running the day mod at. It's just a better place, not moving dates. Going forward, as of my last talk with one of the scouts on Friday, is it looks like we're going to be back there hopefully for a weekend in April, and going forward, we're hoping to get the same weekend we have posted with the buildings and the whole site by ourselves, NPC camp, tavern, everything else. That's the plan going forward. So we're not moving because of any other reason other than we want to hold an event and we have to do this. So if you have any more questions on that, send them towards Ian. I can answer at the end. Another question we're getting about the whole COVID plan, what's going on with that? As everyone knows, Ontario's opening back up, for good or bad. As a business in Ontario, we are allowed to have any, I don't know what to say here, COVID restrictions we want. After talking to some experts, and we do have those in our game, and Ian and I talking and making some decisions, we are keeping it that it's going to be still mandatory to have 2 shots. We are also saying that if you can get your booster, awesome, great. There's a few reasons why that's not mandatory, because I heard that if you had COVID, you can't get your booster right away, and you might not have got your second shot. There's a lot of reasons, but we recommend it. As far as, and again, all of these restrictions could be lifted, or will be lifted eventually as we go forward. So even the April event, keep an eye out as the new plans we put in place. We'll be slowly lifting things as long as we feel it's safe enough for our player base. As for masks, we are still having it 100% mandatory inside the buildings, unless you're eating or drinking. One thing though is I'll be there as Philip. Is if I see you having your mask down, you have a pop in your hand, you're walking around for an hour sipping it, I'm gonna ask you to put it up as you're not. We are going to be trying to crack down as much as we can. Outside, we recommend you're wearing a mask, and you can wear it the whole time if you want to. But if you're within 2 meters of someone, 6 feet, and 100% of the time when you're fighting. So the reason why we're doing combat the way it is we're not just going to run into the tavern like we sometimes do and start hitting people and they have to put mask up and all that. We're going to be going in. Aaron's going to talk about this in a minute, and bringing groups out before we can ease into this stuff. So you will also have to show your proof of vaccination either beforehand or at log, when Ian's going to talk about log later. So make sure that's all up to date and bring it to us. We're doing this for one reason: your safety and ours. So if there's any questions on the COVID stuff, please put it in the chat. We'll talk about that later. But I think we're going to move on to some plot stuff. So Aaron, if you want to take over.
Sure. I think I'll lead into talk about the kind of like the out of game combat aspect, how this game's going to look a little bit different, and then I'll talk about how we've set it up in game for everybody. So kind of going on what Doug was saying, due to us kind of starting to come back into all this, trying to figure out how to do combat again for this event, and we'll see, we're going to be the same way with plot. We may keep some of this as we go forward. It's going to be kind of like having insta-mods, but more detailed insta-mods coming to the tavern where players will then sign up for a mod. And there will be a limited number of space of how many people per combat scenario. And we will then take that group when we're ready for them to a designated area to complete that combat. It will all be in-game. We'll have reasons for why this is. But what it's going to allow us to do is, one, it reduces our numbers so that our NPCs aren't being swarmed by PCs and being overwhelmed by too many people. It allows us to kind of better monitor how this is all going. And it also makes sure that anyone that's a playing character that doesn't feel comfortable right now with having people in their personal space, because there's no way to do combat where you're not going to be in someone's personal space, that they don't have to. They don't have to fear that piece coming in. So you can choose to take part in all the other things that we'll be doing and not sign up for these specific combat mods. 100%, as Doug already touched, there will be no reason or time where a mask can be removed during combat. You can remove yourself without being fear of reprimand, like punishment or anything like that. So if you're in a combat and you're not feeling comfortable for any reason, hand on the head, leave the combat, it's not a problem, but masks stay on. That is because, as I said, we will be not only within a very close distance of each other, which a lot of people have not done in the last 2 years. There will be, it's exercise. There's going to be all the things that are the higher risk. So that's why we decided to try it this way. And we're going to see how it goes. We are also going to set up a sparring type ring. And there will be two different things. There'll be like chances to kind of like have friendly fights with each other. So players, the clone players, we'll throw in some like heroic NPCs that you can challenge to things. We might do some, different types of competitions, and the winners will have potentially loot and things that they can win, as well as it's an opportunity if anyone's feeling a little rusty, want some pointers, want some chances to try something, maybe try a different weapon that they've never used before. We're going to have those opportunities sort of as like fight training, dramatic combat training for anyone that wants to take part of it. So that's how our combat pieces are going to be set up. The only other thing I'd say is that to make sure that it's fair for everyone, when we do bring in these mods for people to sign up, there will be so many that are brought in at a time, and everyone can sign up for one during that time period to make sure that everyone has a chance to sign up. And then when the next batch comes in, you can sign up for another. But that way we won't have one or two people signing up for every single one of them and other players not getting an opportunity. We're going to try that as well and see how that works out. So that will be the combat section. Now the actual in-game section is, because we're not at our normal site again, we've decided that for this event again, we won't be in York. There won't be the Green Pony, there won't be any of those things, to allow us to kind of have that immersion piece where we're not being like, oh, over there is just the node for this event. So you have an in-game reason. You can go to the in-game forums and see that reason, or the event page where you are being invited to a town called Great Falls, which is right on the border of Michigan. I've linked some maps in that right up as well, so you can kind of have a better idea of where you're going. And anyone that came to the masquerade would have met some of the people from Michigan, so you're going to have a chance to potentially see them again, other people that you met. But you have your in-game reason. If anyone is struggling with why their character won't travel, you can reach out to us or get creative and find a reason to travel. And then once we're back to the old site in April, then we'll be back into York and back into sort of that routine. But for now, we've decided this is kind of the best way for us to be able to play the new site. Am I missing anything?
I'll just say that a couple quick things. If you are worrying about, is there a node? Is there this or is there that? Show up at game, trust your plot team. We'll fill you in when you get there. Another really quick question I can think of is if your player, your character, would never be there for whatever reason. Like my character doesn't have a reason, I would never do that. You can either play an alt, you could ask to cast, or you could ask the plot team to give you a reason. Or you can just like pretend, be like, you know what, I would not normally, but because every one of my other friends in town are going, I'm going to protect them. There's reasons for you to be there. We're doing the best we can. And if you really need help, ask a plot member when you get to the event and we'll figure something out. And I think, yeah, you did everything else.
Okay. Yeah. And I just realized the other thing I'm supposed to talk about is the return of plot emails.
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing is, as of right now, until this event, we are accepting plot emails about where your character has been. So we're encouraging people to take a moment, think about it, given some suggestions on a write-up as well of places you can say you've been. I won't go into too much detail about it. Basically, you've been called back home, called to your church if you follow faith, all those sort of things. You can get creative, you can get simple. You can just be like, I was around town, I helped out where I could. It's that simple. But I know a lot of people are struggling with how do I say, where was I? What did I do? So we want to encourage people to let us know where you've been, what you've been doing. It might help you as well kind of jump back into game. We will send a response that says it's approved. It also allows if there's anything that kind of doesn't quite fit, then we can talk back and forth and make sure that you're not coming back and saying that you're doing something that's just not going to work in the game world. After this event, so starting on Sunday, March 20th, the new email write-up is in place. So this was posted yesterday. So I'm sure everyone's had a chance to see it yet. We have a new system, a streamlined system to help the plot team with plot emails. With the ever-growing game, it's become a overwhelming task for us to be able to keep up with everybody's multiple requests. So to try to help us with that, one, we need a week to just focus on getting people's XP done. Again, with how many of you there is, that's a job on its own to be able to do personal shout outs to every single player. We're also going to ask players if they want to. We want your help. We're a team of 5, 7. We don't see everything. We don't see all the really cool things that happen in people's campsites in the middle of the night, all those things. So if you saw a player do something, or an NPC, or even plot owners, we all get XP. You can do shout outs to them, and we've done a write-up on how you can do that, and that helps us be able to better make sure everyone is getting the recognition that they should for an event. So for the first week, that's the only emails we'll accept post-game, so that we can just put our full focus on that, get your XP out to you so you know what you're working with, and then you're allowed to email us with one email request per game, for between games, of what you want to do. And then hopefully that again allows us go to the lookup. If you have questions, I can answer them. I'm not going to go into full details, but that one request is get your thoughts, get it precise. And we really want to encourage people to do as many of the neat things that you want to do at events. Try to play them out compared to in an email. We also may look at some different new ways of trying to do the RP instead of long-winded emails that allows us more of this sort of chat format, like things like FA&D and different things like that, where we can take a group and play out the scenario they wanted to do outside of town between events. And then the final thing is we're going to shut plot emails down the week before, because we need time to switch focus and make sure we're ready to actually run the event, because that's where our focus really should be, and not kind of having to put too much time into the emails that we don't have the time for the actual live events, which is where our focus should be. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, sounds good. Ooh. So anything else on that, or are you good?
I think those are my pieces. I think it's on to you, Ian.
Okay, all right, I get to go now, and I'm not muted this time, so it should be much better for the rest of you. All right, so my part is going to be talking about log and logistics for the events. So I'm going to break it into two different sections, one of like the before the event, and then one at during the event and at the event, what's going to happen. So before the event, we are currently working on a new database system. It's a work in progress, but it's coming along nicely, and I'm actually fairly confident that we'll have something that will be useful for this coming event. It will not be necessarily very pretty, but it will be functional. That's the goal. The idea is to make something that is functional now, that will work and that we can use, and then as we go along later on, we can tweak it and fix it and make it look really nice and fancy and actually like much more user friendly and along the way. Because yeah, that's a big focus that we want to be able to do. But the first thing we got to do is make sure that it actually can like update your character, because that's a necessary part of this. So that's where we're starting with from here. So I'll do it right now. Actually, I have a couple screenshots of what I've been working on right now, just to give you guys a little like taste of what you might see. So I think if this, it does work. Excellent. So this is, again, bare bones, just what it looks like on here. So what we have a login screen so that you can actually like set up your own personal account, and it will only show your character information and that kind of thing for you. It'll come on to, again, looks really lousy. I understand. Eventually it'll look better. And there won't be those not working next to some of those sections there when we're done. It'll be much better. But yeah, so it'll basically have sort of a landing page where you get to choose a bunch of different options, looking at your own like player information, which will include your OC, any positions that you're in, that kind of thing. And then also just like character information, showing what's going on there. That's where I'm going to go next, because I've got some of that complete here too. So this is the starting screen for that, to be like everybody has at least thoughts on multiple characters, if not actually having some in the database. So whatever character you have will show up on this screen there, and you can see, and then you can go in and look at all the details. And again, this is just a giant list. If you scroll all the way down on this, it's multiple pages down, and it's ugly, but it does show all of the information. So I've been working with a test character here. You can see that has a bit of that information there. So that's there. One of the ones I'm kind of proud of, and I'm hoping that this will work nicely for log going forward, is on there you can see just at the top of it, it says, I've got it covered up on my screen, but like teacher requests, that kind of thing. There's a link there. And on that one, it will actually take you to a sheet that shows like anyone who is actually requesting you as a teacher for a skill will now be dealt with in the database, as opposed to sometimes we message people, sometimes we just assume. It hasn't been a great system going forward, so we're trying to make it in a way so that when you request it within the database, you request it of another player, that player logs in, looks at it and says yay or nay, and then sends it back to you, and you get it back saying, oh look, yes, they agreed, or no, they didn't, I have to go find somebody else. And then you go through the log again that way. That's something that I'm hoping will work out nicely amongst all this once we get fully done, but it's there, and the functionality is there to do it. So I'm excited about that. And then the next one here is just on for our players who are helping us out in official positions and things like that. You'll see when you'll have a different landing page when you log in. So that one there is kind of my working copy that we're going from here. But when you log in, if you're a regular player, you'll see a different page than you will if you're a staff member, and you'll be able to see like different things that you can do. And one of them is applying OC to other players. So this is for the people who are like our heads of kitchen help or set up cleanup, that kind of stuff. Those people will be able to just on their login come in and say, this person did some cleanup of the tavern, they get 20 OC for it, bing, bang, boom, done. And this will help log a lot in this case, because there'll be less of transferring of a sheet, making sure that's correct, double checking it with the person who made it in the first place, and then data entering it like effectively twice. This is going to limit that down, so it'll save a lot of time on log. So I'm looking forward to that personally. And then that's it. on those ones, so I can get rid of that. So that's what the database is going to probably look like for this coming event. As we go forward with it, it will develop and start looking better as we go along and start having more options for things. But my hope is to have a new character setup available, a full logistics available for different players so that you can actually log for this event. And then from there, we're probably going to be working out the bugs for a little while. So, so just letting you know on that one. So that is what it's going to look like when you're doing this. My hope is that by the end of the week, we'll have something that is usable enough that people can start looking at it so that we have basically at least a week to kind of log everybody in. And we're going to figure out deadlines for everything on that as we go along, depending on when this gets complete and ready to go. So keep your eyes peeled for posts on that so you know what's going on. So that's the database. Hoping it works. We're working on it. A couple other things that I want to mention about log as well before the event goes on is that we put out a call for the last tags for FA&D. So if you had any tags or coin that you earned through FA&D before January that you want to get applied to your character sheet, this will be like basically the last chance to do it. Make sure you send in like an email to logistics with the list of what that is, and I will make sure that it gets onto your sheets in time for this or the next event, depending on how much work everything is going to be. Okay. The other one that I keep getting asked about and everybody's concerned about is magic items and expiries for things like that. Because we are very focusing on the database here and trying to make sure that works and we get everything going, we are going to basically put a pause on everything for magic items at this time. So for the March event, all items will be, as long as they were still active before our last event, which was March, I believe, 2020. The Masquerade, we are considering just a separate one-off kind of thing, but from March 2020, if your item was active at that time, it will still be active for this event regardless of what it says on the tag. So everybody will still have access to those things from there. After that event, we are going to set up a system to try and get everyone's information on those, be able to update all those tags and give you proper new ones and things like that. But we're just, for March, we're not going to worry about it. We want you all to come out and have a good time and not spend too much time logging. So, I think that is everything from before you get to the event. At the event, if you came to the Masquerade, you can see we're going to have basically the same kind of setup there that we had, or for this next event coming up that we had there, where we'll have a table at the gate leading into the event. We'll have our COVID questionnaire going on there. We'll check for proof of vaccine, and we'll also do log right there. So when you walk into game, we will have, if you've prepaid, we'll hand you an envelope. We'll ask you some COVID questions, and then we'll say, head on in if you're good. And if you don't pass the questionnaire, we'll say, thank you for coming. Head out, please. Hopefully you will have checked it all beforehand. There is a nice link that will send you all to pre-check your COVID screening before you show up too. So you don't have to spend all the time driving out there for us to send you home. Please don't come if you're sick. Please don't. So that we're going to be doing there. We are going to be accepting prepayments. We already have a section up on the website that I believe I don't know if we've linked to yet or not, but we will if we have not yet. And so you can prepay on the website to make sure that you don't have to do much at log. We will still have options we will take cash and we'll take plastic tapping. We have at least one electronic device for that sort of thing, so we can take that at the door as well. So that is all of those. I think that is all my stuff for log. If anybody has questions, you can put them into the chat there. Anything else? Or Doug has a question, it sounds like.
No, I kind of skipped over something.
Oh, okay.
Because we had to do this more than once. So one of the things I was originally supposed to talk about, I just looked at my notes, is parking and stuff for the event. Something I didn't go over. If you're at the Masquerade or the meet and greet, you kind of sort of know the place now. But if you don't, if you Google Map, go to the link when you drive to the place, there's a person's house is the first driveway you come to. All depends on which way you're coming in, or the second driveway. We'll have signs up that says FA event or something of that nature coming from both ways, and you'll see some cars. That's where you're going to park. You just drive into the parking lot, To the right-hand side, everyone parks their cars off to the side. It's all gravel. You won't get stuck. You're going to be fine. So that's the parking part of it. Another thing is we do have the main building we used last time, as we call it the tavern. We have that. We will be setting up our another one of our bigger tents for this event, just another place people can gather. We also may be having one or two of the cabins that are there opened up if people want to just hang out with their safe group, if they, certain groups that they feel comfortable hanging out with. Another thing is, obviously, it's, March 19th is the date. If we want everyone to be there no earlier than 10 o'clock, there will be people on site that are setting up before that. But we want to start game at 12. So when we say don't show up before 10, but we don't want you to show up at like 11:45 also, because that's just going to slow Ian down with vlog and everything else. So if you can get there right around the 10 o'clock area, park, come in, do the logistics of it all of that stuff, it'll be amazing. As far as event costs, for a day mod, we're charging $50. I don't know if we'd have to go into much. I mean, cost of living, everything has gone up. We know that. You guys are hit hard. We're also hit hard. It is what it is, unfortunately. For the meal plan, I'll be posting that today. What the meal plan is, it's going to be only $10. We might take a loss, but that's okay because we are what we are. But it's for a couple snacks during the day. So if everyone gets there around 12, an hour or two later, there will be an in-game reason why Philip is there. Spoiler, it is what it is. He'll be giving you some snack food. We're hoping around 5 or 6 o'clock we'll have the main part of the food, like dinner. And then you guys can go back out and play some more until we close it around 9 or whenever. So that, again, that's only $10. I'll be putting that up today on the event page and everywhere else if you want to sign up. Also, vegetarian options and all that normal stuff I do, just let me know. It's been a while since I fed you all. So yeah, I wanted to talk about that. There's another thing that was brought up already. We had a question. We're going to get to questions in a minute, but this is one that was brought up beforehand. Someone was asking, we mentioned for the COVID plan, which I talked about, is if you have symptoms or you just look sick and all that, we're going to say at the gate, we don't think you should come in. Can you please go home? During the event, if someone gets sick, and again, this is especially for weekend events and all that, is if we feel that someone is coming down with something, we're going to ask you, instead of before we'd be like, you're okay, now because of COVID and all that, we're going to ask you, you have to remove yourself from the event. And the question was, if they drive themselves and they can drive home, obviously they'll go home. If they're driving with someone else or someone else drove them, it's the same thing as before. If someone was sick before, I guess it's kind of the responsibility of the person who brought you there to get you home. They could come back. There's other things. We can arrange rides, cabs. There's a lot of things we could do. We'll make sure that happens if that worst case scenario happens. But it won't be an excuse of, well, my ride's still here, so I'll just wear my mask in the corner. We want to keep a really, really hard line in the sand on this for now, because we have heard from enough people that they like the fact that we're doing it safely, and we like it that way. So we're not going to ease up as quick as, say, Ontario is, just because. So again, if we feel if that's the case, we'll work it out. It's not that we don't like you or anything like that. We just want to be safe. So that was the one question we had beforehand. Sorry for interrupting, Ian, but if you have any questions now, I think we're at that stage.
Well, and I was going to say, Doug, and it relates, as people are asking about that question, it's kind of no different than before COVID times. If someone was injured, and we've had injuries bad enough where they've had to go to the hospital or those sort of things, we make sure that takes place, and we've had to have people leave events for injuries. This will be the same sort of thing, and it's just that whole, we're going to play smart, we're going to play safe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It really comes down to that we want to make sure that everyone who comes out is safe and happy and goes home the same way or better. So that's just something that if we have to enforce it to make sure that everybody does that, we're going to do it because it's the right thing to do. So
speaking of playing safe, it's a March event. Doesn't matter that we're not at Scouts. Mud, half frozen ground, So not only bring good shoes, bring shoes you don't love. It's a March event.
Boots.
Yeah.
Bring boots.
Yeah, bring like 2 pairs, because you're not going to want to go home in the ones that you wore the whole time you're there too. It's not fun. I've done that once. It's horrible. Don't do it. So, yeah. All right.
And remember, quickly on that note, remember we're unless you played on this site from maybe a different LARP, this is the new site. So the plot team will be holding mods not just around the tavern. They're going to be using the fields and stuff. So you're going to some place you don't know, let alone what the ground's going to be. So yeah, you should definitely, bring some good footwear.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, dress appropriately for the weather. We don't know what it's going to be like, because it may
It's
still
March.
be snowy. Yeah, it's March. We don't know. I mean, we had that one January event where it rained the whole time and was like +10. So like, we're into that. You don't know what the weather's going to do anymore. So be prepared. Dress appropriately for the day and look at the weather before you come. It's a good idea. Yeah. So, yeah. Is that too? So, yeah. I think that ends all of the stuff that we had planned to talk about here. I've been looking at the chat. I don't see any questions there at the moment, but we might give them a few more seconds to see if anybody hops in right away. Otherwise, I think we've kind of filled our time here, and it wasn't too long, and this seemed to have worked. So huzzah!
So if we're thinking about getting off here very soon, I guess on closing, I want to say something here. For everyone who wants to come out and is going to come out, remember a couple things here. First of all, everyone's doing the best they can. So if something doesn't go your way or something seems frustrating and all that, just remember that everyone's in the same boat as you for the last 2 years. Our plot team hasn't plotted for 2 years other than behind the scenes. So if a small mod or something doesn't go perfect, give them a few months. It'll be back the way it was before. If meal plan isn't exactly what you wanted, or I'm a half an hour late, or I run out of forks, or whatever it might be, again, there's a lot of stuff going on in everyone's life. The same thing with Ian and Log, or the plot emails. We're going to do the best we can, but we're basically not playing football for 2 years, and then you go back on the field and you're like, okay, we're going to be the NFL now. We're not. We're going to do the best we can. So if everyone can just give us a little patience, if it's not the best event ever that you've been at, that's probably a good thing, because we're not at that level yet, and we can only get better as we go. So just give us some patience, and we'll get there.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so we had a couple questions now while Doug was going on there, and those are good things to put up. So Doug, got one specifically for you here, and that's, is there, the question is, any idea for the schedule for the rest of the year? So I know we have it posted on the website, but if you want to chat about that some more, feel free.
Yes. So our dates that are posted would be perfect in a perfect world if we use them all. And from now on out, having weekend events year round. That's what we want. And unless we buy a property, have them at the scout camp. So I am working with a lovely lady in Toronto who runs the scout camp, and the head ranger, Doug. And between those two people, it's kind of frustrating doing the best they can to get back to us. But as soon as they do, we will give you the official schedule if we had to move something. They have the dates we wanted. She asked for them. But she's maybe off right now. She's not getting back to us as quick as she can. So the plan is to use the dates we have. As I'm assuming before the April event, I will know for the rest of the year. And as soon as we know official, I'll go on that post and say these are the official dates. And they're going to be all weekends unless things close back down. We don't know what next fall is going to look like, but so good question. Those are the dates we're going to go with, and we'll hopefully keep them that way.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah, we're planning as far ahead as we can, and again, there's a lot. We're hopefully getting out of the time of uncertainty, but we're still not sure. So we're working on it, exactly. So the ones on the website are the current ones that we've got, and we'll kind of go from there, right?
I do know that, like, because I used to book dates a year and a half in advance, so
Mhm.
everyone would be like, well, it's good. Like, they know a
Mhm.
year, they already have like next year's and year after that.
Mhm.
It's everyone's opening up. The same thing I just mentioned about us. The scouts are doing the same thing. They're just throwing stuff at the wall also.
Mhm.
So we're going to make it work. If we have to move in a time around or a date, we will, but hopefully those are the dates we use.
Yeah, and we'll give you as much notice as we can on those kind of things, right? Like if it's something we can decide months in advance, great. If it happens right away, we'll do our best, right? Because again, all of us doing what we can. Um, so follow up question to that: if we end up having to move dates or don't work out, would we move the event or would we move the location? So we do have access to the Hagersville site as well that we're using for the day mod coming up here. But I know the plan is to try and use the Scout site as much as possible because it has everything that we want. But do you have any thoughts on that one, Doug?
Yeah. So right away, what I would say is how the dates work is you say I want to book this weekend, and the scouts are gonna get back to me saying because we want to book the whole site. So we go on there and try to book the whole site. Because we're a third party, we don't get the same prices or the same options as other people. So we have like a backdoor thing we have to go through. So it's not exactly you go right now and Google it and hey, look, everything's open. It's not like that. They got a lot of hidden dates. If we can book the whole site for the whole year, the dates we want, that's what we're doing. If there is a weekend or two that we want on the same date, but one campsite is booked, we may sit there and still book it, saying that this one weekend, like we used to, unfortunately, the
Mm-hmm.
back site that nobody uses has campers. If it gets to the point that we just cannot rent that date, we're going to try to move it. And again, because we try to run every 4 weeks, although I know the schedule, sometimes it's like every 3 weeks, every five. If we can move it a week or two and still have at least 2 weeks between, not adding too many dates, we'll keep the scout camp. If there is a major problem, and say I don't know, but say August and September, there is no dates whatsoever. We just cannot book the scout camp. Then instead of going LARPless, we'll probably talk to the plot team and say, can we have a couple events in Hagersville outside of York again? Worst case scenario, we can do that. That is an option. But that's only the worst case. As it stands right now, how I'm feeling with the Toronto place, the scout camp, we should be good. But if it comes up, there is that option, if that helps.
There you go. Sounds good. Okay, so we got another question. This one I think is for me, but it's how do you pay ahead of time for the meal plan if it's still a free first event? On the website, I guess we have set it up that you can pay for the event and the meal plan not separately but together. Again, this is us trying to remember how we do these things. So that's something that we can go on to the website and fix around, and that's something we can look at. For first time players, the event is free. The meal plan is not. The meal plan still costs us money. We have to try and make that back if we can. So the meal plan will not be free, but the event will be for anyone who's coming out for the first time. So I'll look at the website probably immediately after I shut this down and it works out hopefully, and see if I can get a fix that so that you can just buy the meal plan by itself as well. So there you go. Thank you for bringing that up because I didn't even notice that. Again, trying to remember how these things work and how to do these things again. It's been a
And
couple
what
of
if
years.
the first cast?
So for cast, so I don't know if you meant. Do you want to talk about the dedicated cast idea too? I don't know if you actually talked about that or not.
Well, I think what we'll do is let's
Mm-hmm.
get us up and running a bit,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna
Okay.
let Mike talk more about dedicated cast
Okay.
and kind of this event. For this event, if someone wants to cast with us,
Mm-hmm.
um, we just need to know the people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to meet with the cast before the event so we can all be on the same page. Dedicated cast is when you actually sign up for a block of.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, it was 4, 8, or 12 events in a row.
Mm-hmm.
But I think because again with COVID and everything, Mike might be adjusting it slightly. So if you're interested in dedicated cast or you're interested in becoming that, I think the best thing is still to specifically email our plot manager email,
Mm-hmm.
and then have a conversation with him or have a conversation with him more in April once we're kind of getting that ball rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone that was dedicated cast with us before the pandemic starts gets first dibs on the spots that we do have for dedicated cast. So that's open to them first for obvious reasons. But anyone that was dedicated cast for us before also doesn't have to complete their contract, because when they said they wanted to do 4 events, they weren't signing up for a 2.5-year time period. So they are welcome to not fulfill their dedicated cast contract if they had started with us before the pandemic.
Yeah. Another one of those concessions for the pandemic.
With the NPCs too, really quickly for the meal plan, I know it came up, is plot team is on meal plan just because it's a bonus we're giving them type of thing. But cast still would have to pay the meal plan. Just it's always been that way. It's just food prices and all that is what it is.
Yeah, cast pays for meal plan. Cast does not pay the event fee because they're working.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I know that some other LARPs actually you have to pay to NPC, or you have to take, and that's not a thing here. It's free completely, and you get XP and you get bonuses. I know other places this has come up a few times. Should we do this? And we're not doing this. Is some people you have to take a cast shift. That is not a thing in FA, and it's not going to be as far as I'm concerned. Or you can pay not to do it, but no, it's if you don't want to cast, you don't have to, and all that good stuff.
We prefer not to do cast shifts as well as a plot team. We also want to, if you come and dedicate cast with us, we will also be filling you in on the major plot points and you become part of the story with us.
Yeah. You get access to all kinds of stuff. We know before the pandemic, we had an option for volunteering for cast shifts, and it was something that you could volunteer to possibly do it. And then if plot decided that they needed some people to come and help out, they would seek people out and say, hey, would you like to come and do a shift now? And it was always you're free to say yes or no. And we did that whenever we were like, oh, we could use like 1 or 2 more people for this mod. And this person isn't planning on going anyway, so perfect, this works out. But as of now, we're trying to limit trying to keep people in smaller groups as much as possible. So we are not going to be doing that for March. Coming into April, probably not again still, but again, we're going to rejudge all these things every few weeks just to see what's going on with the world too. Right? So there you go. So got another question here about merchandising stuff. So we have created a few specifically designed holy symbols for Fantasy Alive that are a couple of the different gods. I think it's Jero, Marius, Hemulus. Who am I missing? Atha's another one, yeah. So we have those. I think those 4 are currently available out there at the moment. We have put out a call that if anybody is interested and would like us to start making more of those for the different deities, you are welcome to do so. Those are all available on the Fantasy Live website if you'd like to buy those. What we're doing right now is if you purchase one, we'll bring it to the event and give it to you. So if you would like one in time for the March event, you can get that order in like nowish, and we'll be able to just hand it to you at log. That's the current plan. So that's rather than mailing them or anything else like that, it's just needs easier if we bring it to the event for you. And we still have a call out that if there's anyone who would like to see their deity get represented by one of these cool like personalized holy symbols, to let us know, and we'll start working on a design for that one too. So there you go. I think that's it. That's all the questions I've got at the moment. Does anyone else have any, of the 3 of us, anyone have anything to say in the meantime? Just see if there's any other questions before we sign off for the day.
I think I'm good.
Yeah? All right. Cool. I think that's it then. Then I think we've given you all lots of time. If you have more questions, you can always find us in different places. You can email us. You can message us on Facebook. You can do those kind of things. We'll get back to you when we can. And otherwise, I think we're done for now. Thank you all for watching. And if you're watching later, you can watch the first one for a laugh, and then this one for the actual information. And thankfully, we're so good. Doug loves it. I'm not sure I do. I haven't seen it yet. I'm not sure yet. I was scrambling to get this working, and Doug was like, ha ha, funny. So yeah, here we are. Anyway. So yeah, that's about it for now then. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for keeping track of this, and hopefully we'll see you all in a couple weeks at our first event back in for 2022. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
See ya.
Bye, guys.